So many people move through life believing that everything should make sense in real time, that every step should be clear, every moment should be predictable, and every twist in the path should come with an explanation. But the truth is, the journey rarely reveals its purpose while you're standing in the middle of it. Most of the time, it feels confusing, it feels messy, it feels uncertain. You question whether you're doing the right thing, making the right decisions, taking the right steps. And because the path isn't always smooth or linear, you start to doubt yourself. You start to wonder if you somehow took a wrong turn or missed a sign. You start to imagine that everyone else seems to be moving forward effortlessly while you're stuck trying to figure out what your next move even is. But life isn't designed to hand you clarity before you're ready. Sometimes the clarity comes at the very end, after you've walked through everything you didn't understand. Think about the stories you admire most, whether they're from people you look up to or from your own past. Most of them didn't make sense while they were happening. They were full of confusion, heartbreak, delays, and detours. But when you look back, those same moments become the turning points, the lessons, the foundation for who you are today. The journey becomes meaningful, not because everything went according to plan, but because everything that happened shaped you in ways you couldn't see at the time. It's only afterward, when the pieces come together, that you realize you were being guided even when you felt lost, protected even when you felt abandoned, strengthened even when you felt weak. Sometimes the journey is preparing you for something you can't see yet, something bigger than the version of yourself you are right now. And that preparation doesn't always feel comfortable. You might be in a phase of your life where you're doing everything you can, putting in the effort, showing up consistently, and still nothing seems to be moving. You feel the pressure of time. You feel the pressure of expectations. You feel the silent comparison creeping in as you watch others move forward faster than you. And you look at your own journey and wonder why it's taking so long, why it feels slow, why the doors you're knocking on are not opening. But what if the timing is perfect, even if it doesn't feel perfect? What if the delays are not punishments, but part of the process? What if the closed doors are saving you from something you're not meant to walk into? What if life is positioning you for something better than what you're asking for? It's easy to trust the journey when everything is falling into place. The real test is trusting it when things are falling apart, because that's when the path feels the most unclear. That's when the fear creeps in. That's when the questioning starts. That's when you're tempted to give up, rush, force things, or settle for what's familiar instead of waiting for what's meant. But the moments that feel the most confusing often become the ones that make the most sense later. The pain you carried becomes the strength you rely on. The setbacks become the lessons that prevent future mistakes. The people who left create space for the right people to enter. The opportunities that didn't work out make room for the opportunities that are aligned with who you're becoming. You may not see it right now, but you are in the middle of a transformation. And transformation rarely looks pretty in the moment. It looks like chaos. It looks like uncertainty. It looks like confusion. It looks like not having the answers. It looks like learning through trial and error. But later, when you look back, you'll see how every moment connected. You'll see the invisible threads that were guiding you. You'll see how even the situations that felt pointless were part of building your resilience, your wisdom, your clarity. Every step, even the ones that felt like setbacks, played a role in shaping your story. You don't have to understand the entire journey right now. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to know where every path leads. You're not supposed to. What you are supposed to do is trust that the confusion has purpose. Trust that the delays have intention. Trust that the struggles are shaping you. Trust that one day you'll look back and realize you were never off track. You were being prepared, refined, strengthened, and aligned. You were being guided toward the version of your life that fits you, the version that feels right, the version that makes sense in a way nothing else ever did. And when you reach that moment, when you finally see how everything connected, you'll realize the journey was never meant to make sense in the beginning. It was meant to make sense at the end.
It's easy to assume that when something doesn't go the way you planned, it's automatically a sign that you failed, or that you're not good enough, or that life is somehow working against you. But what if the things you call setbacks are actually moments of protection? What if the delays you get frustrated with are actually moments of preparation? What if the detours that feel like obstacles are actually redirections steering you towards something better than what you thought you wanted? We are so quick to judge our journey based on what we see in the moment, without realizing that sometimes the things that feel like they're falling apart are quietly falling into place behind the scenes. And the truth is, the journey rarely moves in a straight line. It twists and curves and flips and confuses you, and every unexpected turn is part of something bigger you can't fully understand while you're in the middle of it. There have been moments in your life when you wanted something with your whole heart. Maybe it was a job you dreamed of, a relationship you were attached to, an opportunity you thought was perfect for you, and it didn't happen. At that moment, it felt painful. It felt unfair. It felt like life was closing doors without giving you an explanation. But later, when time passed and you grew and you began to see life from a different perspective, you might have realized that the very thing you wanted back then wasn't actually right for you. Maybe the job would have drained you. Maybe the relationship would have broken you in ways you didn't see. Maybe the opportunity would have limited you instead of expanding you. But you couldn't see that in the moment. All you saw was the loss. All you felt was the disappointment. And yet that very disappointment was the thing that saved you from stepping into something that wasn't meant for your future. Sometimes the universe's greatest gifts are disguised as obstacles. Sometimes the no you hear today is the "thank God it didn't happen" you say years from now. And sometimes things fall apart because the life you're trying to build is too small for the person you're becoming. You outgrow situations, you outgrow environments, you outgrow people. And the journey removes them even before you realize they no longer fit the version of you you're stepping into. It feels like loss, but it's actually alignment. It feels like a setback, but it's actually a setup. It feels like something is being taken from you, but something is being made ready for you. Think about how many times you felt stuck and frustrated because things were taking longer than you expected. You told yourself you should have been further by now. You convinced yourself that everyone else was racing ahead while you were stuck moving slowly, waiting, trying, hoping. But not all delays mean stop. Sometimes delays mean not yet. Sometimes delays mean there's something better. Sometimes delays mean you need more time to grow. When you look at successful people, you don't see their delays. You don't see the years they spent working in silence. You don't see the moments they thought nothing was happening. You don't see the doors that closed on them. You don't see the opportunities they didn't get. But every one of those moments shaped them. Every delay developed them. Every detour taught them something they couldn't have learned any other way. You might not realize it right now, but the season you're in is shaping you. The closed doors are teaching you resilience. The delays are teaching you patience. The disappointments are teaching you strength. The detours are teaching you flexibility. Everything you're experiencing is molding you into someone who can handle the things you're praying for. And I know it's hard to trust that when the journey feels uncertain. It's hard to trust that when you keep hearing no. It's hard to trust that when you're giving your all and still feel like you're not moving. But what if the journey knows more than you do? What if the timing is perfect, even when it feels late? What if the things that didn't work out because you were meant for something bigger, something more aligned, something more fulfilling? You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not being denied, you're being redirected. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. And one day, you're going to look back at the moments that frustrated you, confused you, disappointed you, and broke your heart, and you're going to realize they were the exact moments that guided you toward the life you are meant to live. Every delay had a purpose. Every detour had a reason. Every disappointment carried a lesson. And every closed door was a step towards something better, something more aligned, something that fits who you're becoming. Trust that the things that didn't happen were not meant to break you. They were meant to build you for what's coming next.
One of the hardest parts of personal growth is understanding that progress is often invisible. You can be working on yourself every single day, showing up with effort, discipline, and intention, and still feel like nothing is changing. And because you can't see the results immediately, you start questioning everything. You start wondering if you're wasting your time, if you're even capable, if you're doing something wrong. But the truth is, the most powerful transformations in your life happen long before anyone notices. They happen in the silent seasons. They happen when you're planting seeds, not when you're picking the fruit. Think about how a plant grows. The moment you put a seed into the soil, it doesn't burst into a flower the next day. For a long time, nothing appears on the surface. From the outside, it looks exactly the same, like nothing is happening at all. But beneath the dirt, in a place no one can see, the seed is doing the most important work of its entire life. It's breaking open, it's forming roots, it's anchoring itself, it's getting strong enough to push through the surface. If you judged the seed too early, you'd assume it failed. You'd assume it wasn't growing. But that hidden phase is the most critical part of its development. Without that phase, nothing you admire above the surface would ever exist. And your journey works the same way. There are moments when you feel like you're giving everything and getting nothing back. You're learning, growing, trying, and still questioning why things look the same. But you have no idea how much is happening inside you. You can't always see the resilience you're building. You can't always see the strength you're developing. You can't always see the wisdom you're gaining. You can't always see how much more grounded, mature, and self-aware you're becoming. Those quiet, unseen changes are shaping your future in ways that will surprise you. When the results finally show, people will say you came out of nowhere, but you'll know it wasn't sudden at all. It was years of showing up when nothing was visible. You might be in that underground phase right now, the phase where you feel like you're doing the right things, but nothing is moving. The phase where you're working in silence and no one notices. The phase where you're healing old wounds, learning new habits, unlearning old patterns, trying to break cycles, trying to be more disciplined, trying to build a better version of yourself. These are the seasons where doubt creeps in the most. These are the seasons where you feel invisible. These are the seasons where you think your progress doesn't matter because the world can't see it. But the world doesn't have to see it yet. What matters is that you're growing inside, even if the outside hasn't caught up. Progress doesn't always show up as big achievements or dramatic changes. Sometimes progress looks like waking up earlier than you used to. Sometimes progress looks like saying no to things that drain you. Sometimes progress looks like handling a situation with more maturity than you would have last year. Sometimes progress looks like being patient with yourself. Sometimes progress looks like simply not giving up. And yes, sometimes it's so subtle that you don't even realize you're getting better, but you are. The small changes you barely notice are building the foundation for the life you want. They're making you stronger, more grounded, more stable, and more prepared. People often think growth is loud and noticeable, but real growth is quiet. It's internal, it's uncomfortable, it's slow, it's steady, it's invisible until it's undeniable. The results always show up last. The inner work shows up first. And because the inner work is hidden, people assume it's not real. They assume nothing is happening. They assume they're stuck. But think about it. The strongest trees are the ones with the deepest roots. And roots take time. Roots grow in darkness. Roots grow without applause. Roots grow where no one is watching. Without roots, a tree can't survive a storm. Without inner strength, you can't survive the challenges life throws your way. That silent season you're in is where your roots are forming. And this is why comparing your journey to someone else's is so dangerous. You might be comparing your underground season to someone else's blueing season. You're comparing their visible results to your invisible growth. You're looking at someone's flowers while you're still developing roots, but those roots matter. They are what will keep you strong when life gets difficult. They're what make your progress real and lasting, not temporary or superficial. What looks invisible now will one day be the very thing that sets you apart. Don't let the quiet fool you. Don't let the lack of visible results make you think you're not making progress. Progress is not always loud. Progress is not always obvious. Progress is not always something people can point at. Sometimes progress happens in your mind, in your habits, in your reactions, in your beliefs, in the way you talk to yourself, in the decisions you make. And every one of those internal changes is preparing you for the moment when everything finally aligns. One day, things will click. One day, all the invisible work you've done will become visible. One day, people will notice what you've been building inside yourself. And when that moment comes, it won't be because you suddenly became great. It will be because you trusted the process even when you couldn't see the progress, even when no one else could see it either. The underground season is temporary, but the growth that comes from it is permanent.
One of the biggest reasons people lose confidence in their journey is because they keep comparing their path to someone else's. And the truth is, comparison is one of the fastest ways to drain your happiness, your motivation, and your sense of worth. We live in a world where everyone's life is on display, where every achievement is posted, where every milestone is shared, where everyone seems to be moving at lightning speed. And when you're scrolling through all of that, It's easy to look at your own progress and feel like you're falling behind. You start thinking, why am I not there yet? Why am I not achieving what they're achieving? Why is their life moving faster than mine? But what you forget in those moments is that your path isn't supposed to look like theirs. Your timeline isn't supposed to match theirs. You're living a completely different story with different lessons, different experiences, different challenges, and different blessings. It's like reading a book and comparing chapter 3 to chapter 20 of another book. They're not meant to match. They're not supposed to look the same. Everyone's journey unfolds differently. Some people discover their purpose early. Some people discover it later. Some people bloom fast, some bloom slowly. Some shine in their 20s, some shine in their 30s, 40s, or even later. There is no rule. There is no right timeline. The only mistake is thinking you're behind because someone else reached a milestone before you. Their success is not proof of your failure. Someone else's achievement is not evidence that you're lacking. It simply means their chapter unfolded at a different pace. When you compare your life to someone else's, you're comparing what you can see to what you can't see. You see their highlight reel. You see the celebration. You see the results. You see the moment everything came together. What you don't see are the nights they doubted themselves, the failures they kept private, the tears they wiped when no one was around, the moments they wanted to quit, the years they spent building quietly, the pain they never talked about. Every journey has a hidden struggle, and no one posts the parts where they're breaking. So when you compare yourself to someone else's success, you're comparing your struggles to their filtered reality. And that's not fair to you. Your path is unique because you are unique. Your personality, your lessons, your growth, your challenges, your dreams, no one else has them in the exact same combination. That means no one else can walk your path, and you're not meant to walk theirs. Imagine planting different seeds in a garden. One blooms in a week, another blooms in a month, another takes an entire season. You wouldn't look at the seed that takes longer and assume it's failing. You'd understand that it needs its own time. Human beings are the same way. Some people grow faster, some people grow deeper. Some people take longer to develop the foundation that will hold the life they want. It doesn't mean you're behind. It means your journey is building something different. Comparison doesn't just steal your joy, it blinds you from seeing how far you've come. When you're constantly looking left and right, you forget to look back at your own progress. You forget the challenges you overcame. You forget how much you've grown. You forget the person you used to be and how much stronger, wiser, calmer, and more grounded you are now. You forget the emotional mountains you've climbed. And when you ignore your own growth, you start feeling unworthy of the future you're building. But your growth matters, even if it doesn't look dramatic. Your progress matters, even if it's slower than someone else's. And when you stop comparing, something powerful happens. You start appreciating your journey for what it is. You start noticing the small wins. You start valuing the lessons. You start finding peace in your own timing. You start trusting that life is unfolding exactly the way it's meant to. You start realizing that rushing your story wouldn't make it better, it would only make it incomplete. Everything you've experienced has shaped you. Everything you've overcome has prepared you. Everything that didn't work out redirected you. Everything you're waiting for is aligning with the person you're becoming. The moment you stop measuring your worth by someone else's progress, you free yourself. You free your mind from pressure. You free your heart from insecurity. You free your spirit from anxiety. You give yourself room to grow without constantly feeling like you're not enough. And the beautiful thing is, when you stay in your lane, when you walk your path, when you trust your pace, you start moving with confidence instead of fear. You start growing with intention instead of stress. You start building a life that feels right for you, not one that just looks good to others. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not slow. You're moving according to your own timing and your own development. Your path is not supposed to match anyone else's. Your life is not meant to be a competition. You don't need to keep up with anyone. You don't need to match someone else's speed. The only person you need to be better than is the version of you from yesterday. When you focus on becoming a little better every day, when you stop comparing and start appreciating your own growth, that's when your journey becomes something beautiful, something peaceful, something meaningful, something uniquely yours.
One of the things people misunderstand the most about life is the idea of stillness. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that if we're not constantly moving, constantly grinding, constantly achieving, constantly checking off goals, then we're somehow failing. We were told that slowing down means you're losing, that resting means you're falling behind, that pausing means you're not committed. But the truth is, stillness is not failure. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is not evidence that your life isn't progressing. Sometimes stillness is the most important part of your journey, because it's in those quiet moments that life prepares you for what's coming next. There are seasons in life when everything feels like it's on pause. You're trying your best, you're doing the work, you're making the effort, but nothing seems to be moving. Opportunities feel slow, answers feel distant, progress feels invisible. And your first instinct is to panic. You start feeling guilty for not doing enough. You start pushing yourself harder, even when you're exhausted. You start thinking something is wrong with you because you're not moving at the pace you expected. But what if nothing is wrong? What if the stillness is intentional? What if you're not stuck, but being aligned? What if the pause is not a punishment, but a preparation for something bigger than what you're asking for? Think about a bow being pulled backward. In the moment the bow is drawn back, the arrow isn't moving forward at all. To someone watching, it might even look like the arrow is going the wrong direction. But that backward pull is building energy. It's building tension. It's building momentum. And the moment the arrow is released, it shoots forward faster and farther than it ever could without that pause. That's what stillness does for you. It builds the strength, wisdom, and clarity you need for the next season of your life. That kind of growth doesn't happen when you're running nonstop. It happens when life pulls you into a moment of stillness so you can gather what you need for what's coming next. Stillness often feels uncomfortable because we're used to constant movement. When things slow down, our fears get louder. Our doubts get heavier. Our insecurities start speaking. We think, why isn't anything happening? Why am I not moving? Why does everything feel quiet? But instead of fighting the stillness, what if you allowed it to teach you something? What if this season is where you learn patience? What if this season is where you heal wounds you've been ignoring? What if this season is where you build the habits you'll need later? What if this season is where you understand yourself on a deeper level? Not every season is about action. Some seasons are about alignment. Some are about reflection. Some are about foundation. Growth doesn't always happen loudly. Sometimes it happens in silence. Maybe you've been pushing yourself for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to breathe. Maybe you've been running after goals without stopping to ask if those goals even align with the person you're becoming. Maybe you've been forcing situations that are no longer meant for you. Stillness gives you a moment to recalibrate. It gives you space to remember who you are without the noise. It allows you to look at your life clearly and understand what truly matters. And without that clarity, you can end up climbing the wrong mountains, chasing the wrong dreams, holding on to the wrong things. The most powerful shifts in life often happen after periods of stillness. When you stop pressuring yourself to rush, you begin to see things differently. You notice opportunities you couldn't see before. You hear your intuition more clearly. You connect with ideas that were too quiet to recognize when your mind was loud. You begin to feel what's right for you instead of forcing what looks right to others. And this awareness can only come when you slow down enough to listen. The world celebrates action, but it rarely celebrates stillness. No one applauds you for taking time to heal. No one claps for you when you choose to rest. No one posts about the years they spent building quietly. But these quiet years are often the reason people succeed later. It's in stillness that you face yourself. It's in stillness that you build resilience. It's in stillness that you learn patience, discipline, and inner strength. You're not lost because you're still. You're growing in ways you cannot yet measure. Sometimes waiting feels like the hardest thing to do. You want to know what's next. You want certainty. You want progress you can see. But life doesn't always give you answers immediately. Sometimes life gives you silence instead. And in that silence, you're being shaped. You're being guided. You're being prepared. What you think is a delay might actually be divine timing. What you think is inactivity might actually be alignment. What you think is a setback might be the moment everything inside you is rearranging itself so the next version of your life fits perfectly. Stillness is not the absence of progress. It's the birthplace of progress. It's where your next chapter gathers its strength.
It's where you realign with your purpose. It's where you heal enough to move forward with clarity instead of chaos. Don't rush this part of your journey. Don't judge it. Don't fear it. Learn from it. Grow through it. Trust it. Stillness is not the end. It's the quiet beginning of something incredible that's preparing to unfold for you.
Every setback you've ever faced, every heartbreak you survived, every challenge you thought would break you, has actually been shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and far more resilient than you ever imagined. Most people don't realize this while they're in the middle of the struggle. When life hits hard, it's natural to think something is being taken from you, that you're losing, that the universe is working against you. But what if the opposite is true? What if every painful moment you've experienced has been carving you into the kind of person who can handle the life you're meant to live? What if the things that felt like they were destroying you were actually building you? It's so easy to look at challenges as punishments. Something goes wrong, and we immediately jump to, why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? But what if the question isn't, why is this happening to me? What if the real question is, what is this preparing me for? Because nothing you go through is wasted. Not a single tear, not a single moment of confusion, not a single painful chapter. Life is intentional in ways we don't always understand. The things that hurt you often strengthen the parts of you you didn't even know needed strengthening. The obstacles you face often unlock qualities within you that you would have never discovered otherwise. Think about the moments in your life that changed you the most. They probably weren't the easy moments. They weren't the seasons where everything was smooth and predictable. The moments that shaped you were the ones that stretched you, humbled you, and pushed you to grow. The heartbreak that forced you to learn your worth. The failure that made you realize you're capable of starting over. The disappointment that taught you patience. The betrayal that opened your eyes to who you should allow in your life. Growth rarely comes dressed in comfort. It usually arrives disguised as pain, loss, or uncertainty. But when you look back, you start to see how those difficult moments transformed you. You've survived things you once thought you wouldn't. Think about that. There were days when you didn't know how you'd move forward, how you'd heal, how you'd recover, but you did. You kept going, you kept fighting, you kept trying. And because of that, you're not the same person you used to be. You're stronger now, more aware, more resilient, more grounded. You've learned to adapt when life shifts unexpectedly. You've learned to rebuild when things fall apart. You've learned to trust yourself in ways you didn't know how to before. That's not something you learn in easy seasons. That's something you earn through struggle. The truth is, challenges don't just build strength. They reveal it. They show you what you're made of. They show you who you can become. They push you toward your potential in a way comfort never could. And sometimes life takes you through difficult seasons, not to break you, but to break the limitations you've placed on yourself. You think you're weak until life forces you to be strong. You think you're lost until life pushes you deep enough to find yourself. You think you're not capable until circumstances demand that you rise. And every single time you do, you become someone you never knew you could be. One of the most powerful things you can do is stop viewing your past through the lens of pain and start viewing it through the lens of transformation. Instead of saying, that broke me, try saying, that built me. Instead of saying, I lost, try saying, I learned. Instead of saying, I suffered for nothing, try saying, I grew because of this. When you shift your perspective, the whole story changes. Suddenly, your past isn't a collection of failures. It becomes a collection of lessons. It becomes your foundation, your training ground, your preparation for the future. Life doesn't give you challenges by accident. It gives you experiences that shape you into the person you need to become. If you want strength, you don't get it by living an easy life. You get it by facing things that test your limits. If you want wisdom, you don't get it by avoiding mistakes. You get it by making them, learning from them, and doing better next time. If you want resilience, you don't get it by staying comfortable. You get it by having to rebuild, reinvent, and restart when things fall apart. Everything you've been through has taught you something valuable, even if you don't realize it yet. And the beautiful thing is, the more challenges you overcome, the more confidence you build in your ability to overcome the next one. You start to trust yourself.
You start to realize that setbacks aren't the end of the road, they're just part of the path. You begin to understand that every time life pushed you down, it also gave you an opportunity to rise. Maybe not immediately, maybe not easily, but eventually you rose. And every time you did, you grew. So the next time you face a challenge or a setback, try to remember the version of you that survived all the previous ones. Try to remember the pain you once thought would break you, but instead made you stronger. Try to remember that nothing you go through is wasted. Life is shaping you with every experience, even the ones that feel heavy, especially the ones that feel heavy. Because pressure creates diamonds, fire strengthens steel, and challenges shape you into someone who is capable of withstanding more than you ever thought possible. You may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but you can trust that every experience, every struggle, every lesson is building you into a version of yourself you will one day be proud of.